and it all came together. So I did that to also introduce Indaba Yemali that brought it together. This place was the only one that was available at the time. It's just a venue that we found that was available on 2 weeks' notice. And the culprits know themselves. And I know some of you were like, you didn't get your tickets on time, you didn't get people picking you up on time, you got to the airport and the cars were not ready, we had to get a bus and everything. But that tells you the story. That this was just a few women who came together and said, let us have it. Nothing behind it, we don't want to get involved. We've had our struggle. I'm a product of 76, I was in the class of 76 too. And I always tell Kumani and Vuyani that this is not my struggle, it's your struggle. And it's for you to define what you want to do with it. But what is one of the reasons that made me willing to go around with a head is because your struggle gives hope to many of us. And we know the things that we didn't finish. And one of them is around education and transformation, which is an ongoing project in this country. So I just want to read a part of a message I got from one of my generation, who's at one of your universities, I won't say which one. He was I was looking for some documents and he said, I'm happy that young people are coming together. But he says that, one of our biggest challenges right now is this growing intergenerational gulf between our generation and your generation. Often, with the best intentions, we simply lack the symbolic language and cultural capital to find each other in conversations, despite often starting off with the same fundamental end goals in mind. And then he says that the student movement, even in its diversity, at times by no means internally coherent or homogeneous, but nonetheless there are basic, stated, and sometimes unstated core narratives about marginalization, about class and other forms of social exclusion, about the disarticulated nature between the promise of higher education and participation in, let alone ownership of the economy. So, and just a general sense of disillusionment with the establishment. So there are many like this who share your passion, your wish, and who really get really quite motivated by what you are involved with. Now let me just say that, as Kurwani has said, that I'm not an actual. I'm a retired lawyer. I'm told some people are saying that I have another job open coming soon, but I'm a retired lawyer. So the person who was supposed to present had those problems, professional and also personal problems. On many platforms, I have a big mouth. So when Max Price was appointed UCT Vice Chancellor, he was addressing a World Economic Forum in Cape Town. So I was talking all nice about transformation. So I said to Max, I hope you know the meaning of transformation. And on a public platform, I said, that university of yours, I have many family members who went through it, my nieces, nephews, children, different faculties. But the common message that they come out with out of your university is to hate themselves as Africans. There are subtle messages every time. And one was in the medical school, another one, two in the economics, one in the IT. But all of them in the different schools come back every day telling me about the subtle message about Africans cannot do this. Oh, they are unable to do this. Oh, this cannot happen. Oh, what did you expect and all that. And I'm saying that your university can produce some of the best engineers and actuaries and everything, but I refuse to allow you to produce children who hate their Africanness. And when they are Africans, And then, you know, my son told me, he went through the economics department into honors at UCT. And he says to me, you know, throughout those years at UCT, at no stage did I have a full semester on the South African economy. At all, what drives it? What are the drivers of the South African economy? What are the levers that we can put? What is it that can happen? Or any of the other African economies. And I was discussing this with some of the vice chancellors even now, and they acknowledge it. They say to me, you're absolutely right. The content of our curriculum is irrelevant to what is happening outside. I mean, most of it. And you have very strange bedfellows on that one, which is white monopoly capital, because it complains all the time about the same issues. To say, you know, for their own reason, the people who come out of universities are not relevant to what is happening in our country. So it's very, very strange bedfellows that we have. Anyway, other issues, and this is for your other session, structural issues. I used to say to, the question is, what choices do we make as a country? What do we choose to spend our money on? You know, I'm sure most of you know that there are many countries in the world that provide free education all the way. And I mean free education from primary right up to tertiary. Why? Some of them have got a GDP that is less than ours. How come they are able to do that? Some of them are African countries, some of them are, you know, Latin American countries. How is it possible for them to do that? It's because of the choices they make. It's not because of the money. It's not about the money. It's about the choices that you make. And those choices are ideological and political. Now, you know, every time you raise this issue, people say, where's the money going to come from? I want to shift the focus. It's not about the money. And I'll explain it. For instance, let me take one example. You know, because people talk about, there are different models, as you know, there's completely free education and then there's co-education. Now the way it came about, you know that after the First World War, between the First World War and the Second World War, there was a lot of push to reconstruct. So those countries that started, you know, the Germans and the Americans and everything, that started with free education. It was in order to reconstruct their countries after the war. After the Second World War, the Scandinavian countries joined with free education. And that was largely, for me, a push, an ideological push against socialism and communism. They were trying to find the middle way because those were system as far as that is concerned. Why in education? You see, I'm saying that's a choice that you make as a government to say, what do we choose to spend our money on? And if you choose to spend your money on, then you can easily afford free education. Let's see now to come to the actuarial model that I'm going to try and explain. Besides that, you know, when you look at just how money is spent, a few examples. This year the government is going to spend 167 million to support, they call it Brand South Africa, Brand South Africa, which, you know, goes out of the country to sell South Africa. At the same time, they spend 3.5 billion on embassies. Why do you choose to do that? Why do you choose to support an institution whose work can be done by another one that you already support? So it's not a question of money. It's a question of ideology and focus. So they were not able to do it. So I said to them, give us the Rolls Royce of education. You know, if you were to take all the people that needed higher education, who qualified to get it, and each one to do a 4-year degree, how much would that cost us? Everybody, just free free tuition, free housing, free books, everything, meals. So we took the top end of the two universities' budget, the existing budget. We didn't question it. So we took UCT and VETS and got an average from that. Full meals, 7 days a week, accommodation and everything. How much would that cost? And you see that over the 4 years, the 2016, which is this year, it's 135 billion this year. Now the budget for this year, the expenditure for this year is 1.4 billion, was it trillion? Sorry, 1.4 trillion. So that's under 10% of your budget. That would allow you to do that. Why do you think spending 10% of your budget? Now, of course, I should say this is, I'm talking about higher education. Why should you feel that that is not necessary? It's not about affordability. That's not necessary. Out of the 6 functions that we have as a government that we show, why would you spend less than 10% of your budget on it? And the amount goes back to the seed. That model goes on for 50 years to show at different times. But the way it works is that if you go right down, you see it goes into the trillions. But the way it works, the way actuaries work it, they tell you, is that they tell you how much you need to save today in order for you to meet your financial requirements in 50 years. So that money at the end, that says total present value, doesn't mean that you have to save that now. It's over different years in order to make sure that and they found that the cost-benefit analysis study they did showed that if you spend that money on young girls and they get educated right through to tertiary education, the savings on other costs are really material. So you find, more responsible response from young people that have gone through tertiary, more this. So they found they saved on the police budget, they saved on the health budget, they saved on even the economic budget, because these children go out and find opportunities for themselves. They don't need any leg up. And that study is available. I'll send money and some of the link to that study to show the benefit of it. So I asked myself, in South Africa, if we were to just say, as the Freedom Charter says, let us open the doors of learning. They shall be open to all. If we were to do that, how much more can we save on the rest of the budget? On things that you will then not need, because you will have people who are able to take their futures into their own hands. So there are, as I said, there are quite a number of countries. Trinidad and Tobago, education is free. Up to tertiary education, and they send you to, it's a small country, but they send you all over the world. Masters, PhD, and everything. And if you get, I'm going to end issues, I'm going back to issues of transformation, going to UCT last year. So I said to her, where are you going to stay? She's like, oh, at this residence, I'm like, which one? She said, I don't know, it's called Grace something. So I said to her, oh, is it Gracia Machel? Yeah, that one. So I said, do you know Gracia Machel? She's like, no, is it a person? No, who's Gracia Machel? I'm like, this child has finished matric, is going to UCT, and has absolutely no idea and no interest in knowing, just something about the university. A big task ahead of us, transforming this country. The majority of our people still have not tasted the fruits of freedom. There's a lot of work that we still have to do. So that's why I say you inspire my generation, not only me, but all the people who communicate with me. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.